Today's topic. I disagree with the red pill community, but I 100% understand that there's an absolute need for it. People often complain about like the rhetoric that comes out of like the manosphere or whatever. And I understand some of those because I disagree with a lot of the sentiments that they share. I've been called a blue pill and purple pill and whatever the term that they have. Honestly, I find the whole Matrix reference is super cringy. But it's 100% necessary. And I think one thing that people don't understand is that there's a lot of expectations placed on men in regards to the roles that they have to play in society, in regards to the roles that they have to play within the dating sphere. You know, the idea that we have to approach, the idea that we have to be the one putting the foot forward and doing all this stuff. I'm not saying that women don't have the responsibilities. I'm just saying there's a lot placed on us, right? The big problem is that we have zero resources in the mainstream to know how to do these things. We don't learn it from our parents because our parents oftentimes don't know what the they're doing. We don't learn at school, and our friends are just as clueless as we are. So what ends up happening is that we look towards media. But the thing is, men don't have shows like The View. Men don't have shows like women do where they get to learn all the next beauty tips and have all their problems constantly talked about other than sports shows. And so what ends up happening is that men turn towards alternative media. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is a perfect example of that. He blew up. But yo, when he was just back in it was just a bunch of guys watching him all the time because it's like the first time that they watched someone speak in long form about that they were going through. I'm talking back in 2013 when his podcast was like setup. Right? I used to watch it back then. I was like, oh, okay, cool. One thing I've learned, like just coming to realize with myself is like, I remember when we first started doing videos, I used to be like way more angry about a lot of stuff, right? And looking back now, I used to ask myself why I was so angry covering some of these topics. Wow. And it dawned on me that for so long, I've been having lived experiences with women that were either negative or super toxic. And when I would bring this up to people around me, they would gaslight me. Or they'd be like, well, as a man, that's not a real thing. So, right, whether it be being hit, whether it be like women doing weird stuff, saying terrible things. And like just the lack of accountability that society seems to place on women in those kind of scenarios threw me for a loop. I couldn't believe it. And so I used to build up a certain level of resentment to the idea like they can just get away with this. And that we just constantly reinforce these ideas, right? And I would look towards media and I would watch, you know, shows like, I'm pretty sure it's The View. I can't remember what it was, but a girl just talking about like cutting off a dude's penile and throwing it in garbage dispenser. And everyone laughs and claps.
I don't know the circumstances. I don't know why he filed for divorce. I don't know what was going on between them. However, I do think it's quite fabulous. I mean, can you just imagine that thing whizzing around the disposal? It's like hysterical. But however, I think I would have just, depending on why she cut it off. I mean, it does depend on the reasons why.
Does it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's on the TV for the next couple. Like, imagine a dude getting on a round table and everyone laughing about a girl's like pieces getting cut off down there. Never would happen. And I would constantly see this reinforced in media where women could touch dudes, grope them, do whatever they want, where they could hit dudes, and it's very popular and it's fine. But then anything that happens to us, we're just supposed to endure it because we're men. And over time, I used to get annoyed with like a lot of this stuff that was just commonplace. And you know the crazy thing is, these women weren't bad people. They weren't people that were like extremely malicious, but they're raised in an environment that's told them this kind of stuff is acceptable. Yep. So you're talking about the norm. As I started doing these videos and I started venting all that pent up resentment, all that anger coming out, I could feel it. Just all of it just pop, pop, pop. For a period, I actually went to the red pill stuff. I was watching that. I think probably from the ages of like 18 to 25, like, you know, because as a young man, you're told you have to do the approach, you have to do all this stuff, right? But I don't know what I'm doing. It's awkward. I go up to these ladies and hard rejections and self-esteem. So I'm like, yo, I need help. So what did I do? Pickup artist. I read the book, The Game. I watched Keys to the VIP, which is oddly enough a show that was shut down just for teaching dudes game, right? I would watch all these stuff and I was like, cool, I'm learning. But they also had some toxic ideas, terrible ideas. But I'm like, I have no alternative. Where else am I going to learn? Who's talking about it? Who? Nobody. Then I go on YouTube, find Joe Rogan. I find a couple of other red pill folks. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm learning some stuff, but I'm indoctrinating this thing. You know, by the time I started 24, 25, I started to realize some of this stuff is bad and I took myself from that environment. But I also recognized it filled a void in my life that no one else was able to fill. There are no resources to teach young men these skills. None whatsoever. But we expect them to be good at it.
It's not only that. Is the
they expect all these men to do all these things. And the price for failure is so big. The price of failure, not only for your self-esteem, but just you being labeled a creep, it costs a lot.
Yeah.
It's really the cost as well about it. I realized, one of my friends realized how much the cost was, that whenever she was talking that, oh yeah, man, I was at the pharmacy,
yeah,
and I saw my boyfriend, so I tapped it on the ass and it was not my boyfriend. And they're like, oops, and then I left and my boyfriend was there and we all laughed. And I was like, if I think I spot my girlfriend turned in a public environment, I'm gonna make sure it's my girlfriend. I can't just, because I cannot afford, as a man, as a black man, to just tap the booty of just some random girl. And be like, oh, sorry. Because the cost of that is potentially bigger than just, oops.
You know, Jordan Peterson comes on the scene and he says to men, clean your room. And he turns into this huge sensation. And a lot of people just don't understand, especially women. They're like, what is so poignant about this? And I'm like, do you not recognize that men were so much in need of that kind of stuff, about telling them to take responsibility for their own lives and how to do it, that they turned to just even that simple piece of advice became so important? Do you not understand that there's such a need for dudes to have their issues addressed? It's not to say that women don't deal with a lot of terrible stuff. And I agree with you. If you want to say that you are more disadvantaged, I would probably agree with you. But people don't live on a macro scale. I do not live as a black man thinking about all black people all the time. I'm thinking about my personal experiences. I'm walking through life. So when you go up to a man and you say your opinions are invalid and your issues are invalid because women suffer more, well, on a macro scale, I could understand what you're trying to say. But on a micro scale, which is how most people assimilate their experiences, I'm like, well, you're just telling me I don't matter. You're telling me my problems don't matter. So then I'm going to turn away from you. And then f***ers love to jump in. They'll be like, we as a community have created environments where men stop lying. First off, when you go into those environments, they start looking at you like, you better keep quiet, say only the right things, and say the right way. That's not inviting. That's not appealing. So then men have turned towards men's circles to find people who understand them and speak the way that they do and resonate with their problems. So when you sit there from afar, you're like, man, this red pill community is trash. Well, great. I think it's great that you keep saying that, but here's the problem. What's the alternative? We can't be on TV talking about our problems because nobody cares and we'll get canceled. I've seen so many men's dude when I was from the early 2000s to like mid 2010, right? Just destroyed and taken off the air because they were toxic and unacceptable, right? But women's TV shows, they can go on for years. They can say the craziest stuff, the most foul things, fine for television. But we have no spaces like that.
It's not even that you didn't present no alternative. I don't believe that it was for them to present them, because they have their own issues. But when others presented other alternatives for other people, they got shut down. It's not so much it was like it's like it was your job to present something other. No, it's like asking for men to present alternatives for women. No, we don't know the reality, and you are better placed to know that.
Wait, what are you talking about? Derek Jackson?
Sure, but because Derek Jackson happened and was in line with what you were saying, you let him slide, right? But other people, you shut that down real quick. I don't think that it's for you to give other alternative, but whenever that alternative happens, you shut it down and you cancel it. And then it just gets worse. What you do by doing that is that you create martyrs. And then they get to evolve and to evolve. Every time Jordan Peterson was they tried to cancel him, or they tried to do something like that, or they tried to shut them down, he gained more power and more people. Every time you do that, you're doing a disservice to your own self. But whatever.
So listen, whether you're a woman, whatever, listen, it behooves you to acknowledge the fact that men deal with problems. All right? It does not take away from your issues. It does not mean that you're invalidated, but men are struggling and suffering from certain things. And there's a hard knock life out there. You know, just because we're not as vocal about it as you guys are, we don't talk about it the same way you do, doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean it's not there. Even this channel, all right? I don't think you throw us in the red pill area, but, we definitely have some ideas that congregate with them as well, right? Even this channel, do you not recognize why we got so popular so fast, aside from the fact that we got a decent commentary? Part of it is we filled the void. So yeah, as far as the red pill stuff and all this whole manosphere and stuff like that, men need their outlets. And I'm not saying it's necessarily the most positive one. I'm not saying that, but until there's resources to tell men, how to do this stuff effectively and do it well. Until women in society in general stops invalidating what men go through, right? We're not going to fix these issues. We're just not. We're just not. So it's a two-part thing.
It's not getting solved.
Here's why I disagree. I think men for the first time are like venting on a loud platform and very directly. And they've been holding it in for so long that some of it's very toxic. So get it out. Get it all out. And then after you've chilled out, we've calmed down, and then, you know, some of this has taken some time, that we could breathe and like talk about it some more and get deeper in there, right? Because a lot of these problems are super valid. You know, like I said, but you cannot discount all of it. So that was my thoughts about the red pill community. People have been asking me about that for a while. I'm glad I went through that phase because it helped me out. And I'm glad I started doing these videos because I got to vent that shit out. Because I'm telling you, I was made to feel crazy my whole life, even by other men. Other men was like, you're supposed to bear it. I'm like, why are we tolerating this? I would never think of like doing that to somebody else, but we as men. And everyone just made me think like, yo, it's not important. I'm like, no, this is real. This is real. And when you guys make people feel like their things are, or their problems are not real, they become angry because their problems on the inside just fester. And I still get it sometimes. You know, sometimes I talk about these problems and I can start to feel again the issues that I had back then. And it kind of comes out of me and I'm just like, where's this coming from? I'm like, I still need more time to get it all out. So yeah, once again, I'll just say this to end. Ladies, I recognize y'all have real problems and I'll never stop, you know, trying to defend y'all from those issues. And if I can, I want to help, you know, but I think there has to be room for men to be able to deal with those issues without everyone trying to interfere, because we just don't have outlets. Not the way y'all do. Not the way y'all do. And if you don't believe me, try to find outlets on mainstream media for men to talk about their stuff candidly. You won't. You know where we turn to? Podcasts. C'est pas ça?
That's what it is. That's why there's a lot more men podcasts than women. I saw this meme. Why do men don't deal with the issues but instead they just do podcasts? Because that's the outlet. That's where we could talk it out. Yeah. And podcast is very niche. It's very niche. So if it's niche, I can find a group of niche people that go through the same shit that I'm going. And it's free. I'm not gonna be, you know, I got less chances of being canceled. So that's why they do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on this topic. We want to hear what you guys think. Do you guys agree, disagree? Yeah, we want to hear all your input on this. Ladies especially, jump in there. Get in there.
Mira cómo goza, morena.